What's going on? My name's Tyler Roicki and welcome to my channel. My Porsche Cayenne is running a tad bit low on oil, so I just picked up this funnel and we're gonna go top it off with a quart. But that brings me to something I've genuinely been curious about, which is what's it cost to run a high mileage Porsche Cayenne? Well, I'm about to find out and share it with you. It's a little drizzly out here, so let's get this oil all topped off. The car's pretty cooled down, which I like. It makes things a little easier. Get that loose real quick. We'll be right back. We've got the necessities here. Got one funnel. Got our 0W40 synthetic oil, and let's top her off. So we've got the oil all topped off right now. We're good to go. With these vehicles, older vehicles especially, it's pretty commonplace that they'll burn oils. The Cayenne is definitely one to do so, but it's running along like a champ for the mileage it's got, that's for sure. Got 158,509 miles right now. So I've been legitimately scared to do this, as especially lately. I just got back from having it in for an unexpected service, had a coolant leak, had to replace the thermostat and thermostat housing, and then something that was related to all that, but essentially resulted in my technician having to rip the engine halfway apart to do all that. So I just had a nice unexpected service bill, which isn't the first time that's happened. So I haven't tallied up the total of what it's costing me to run this Cayenne, so I'm about to do that right now, and I'm not looking forward to seeing how much it's cost me to run this Cayenne for less than 2 years now. So I've got all the service records in the glove box here. If you own a vehicle, I think it's very important to keep these records, and man, we got a lot of records, but let's dive into them. Interesting note, I pulled these are the original records from Porsche, I believe Porsche North America, from the time that the car was new, essentially up until it had close to 100,000 miles. So I bought the vehicle with 122,000 miles. So like over 80% of the vehicle's history, I had records through the Porsche dealer, which all I did was I went to them and asked them. I gave them the VIN number and I asked them to pull the records or something along those lines, and they were able to pull them and give me a copy. They inked out the customer's name, who was the original owner. Not that I couldn't figure it out anyway, it doesn't matter, but fun little tidbit of information. If you own a secondhand Porsche, check with the dealer to see if they have the service records available for your vehicle. Just you know, it could give you some insight into what's been taken care of with the vehicle's history. And when I was able to pull these, all it indicated to me is the vehicle was very well maintained, and that's a plus for me. But let's get into the service records from the past less than 2 years, actually 21 months, because I bought this vehicle in March 2018 with 123,000 miles thereabouts. It currently has just over 158,000 miles 21 months later. So we're going to see what the cost has been to run this vehicle about 35,000 miles in less than 2 years of time. So let's dive into it. All right, first up, this was right after I bought it. We replaced the spark plugs and coil packs, oil change, brake fluid change, and cabin air filter. Bam. So $1,017.98. All right, about 7,000 miles later, I believe we had a coolant leak, and we addressed that. We fixed it. I need a new expansion tank and a couple other things, as you see it noted on there. And then I also had a full vehicle check and computer scan and reset of all the module done. It was something Porsche specific that was a positive thing to do, so I had it done. Total came out to just under 1,300 bucks. Then a couple months later, the battery died, and it wasn't holding a charge, so it was time to get a new battery. That's when I learned something real fun. The battery in these Cayennes is located in a very interesting spot. Well, essentially I'm sitting on top of it right now. It's located under the driver's seat, so I can change a battery, but that's a little too far beyond what I want to take on my own. So I took it in to have the battery changed, and we got a invoice for that. We can see right here. So that's the battery. We got a whopping $400. And a couple months later, we got an oil change. With the amount of driving I do, these are gonna be pretty regular, but $200. And I was happy I was able to make use of the tires that came with the vehicle for a solid 13,000 miles, but after that time they were pretty worn, so it's time to get some new ones. New set of tires ran me just under $1,300 for some Continental Extreme Contact DWSs. They're what I figured would be the best quality, longevity, and value. So that's the reason I went for those tires, and they're a very specific size with the Cayenne GTS. Something to note on that, it's not really a common tire size from what I learned. So the tires are probably a little more expensive than you might pay on some alternative vehicles. Now we're about 1 year into ownership. We've got 142,000 miles, so I've almost put 20,000 miles in my time of ownership. We got another oil change, just over $200. And you might be wondering, why are the oil changes $200? Well, we need 10 quarts of oil for one, and that's a good chunk of it. Then just the service fee, you know, convenience of me not having to do it on my own, crawl under the car, get oily. That's the reason why it's $200. All right, next up, we've got another oil change, and I had a failed TPMS sensor we had to replace. I tried to get the tire place to do it. They didn't really know what they were doing, so I had to take it to my usual spot that does the work on my cars, and they were able to take care of me because they know how to work on high-end cars. But total for that, and then oh yeah, I had to recalibrate the sunroof because it stopped working. Luckily it was a fairly simple fix, but grand total of that was just over $500 for the oil change and the TPMS sensor and fixing the sunroof. And I had an issue with the AC blower motor going out. Replaced that with a new blower motor, $300. All right, here we got another oil change. I had an issue with the AC drain lines not draining. They had to unclog those. It's a pretty easy fix to get in there and unclog those, luckily. And then yeah, total for those two items came out to just under $300. And last but not least, my most recent coolant leak I just mentioned with the thermostat needing to be replaced, and the housing for it came out to $1,350. So we've got a grand total of just over $6,800 to run the Cayenne GTS 2010 model for 35,000 miles over the course of less than 2 years, which, mind you, about $1,300 of that was for new tires, and then $200 an oil change, 35,000. So roughly six oil changes at roughly $200 a piece. So that's another $1,200. So $2,500 of that was for very routine maintenance. The rest was things that happen along the way. But when you take out the $2,500 of super routine maintenance out of the equation, you get $4,300. It's actually not so terrible if you consider it, because you're talking about a vehicle that costs about $90,000 brand new, luxury, has so many features, tech and whatnot. So it's kind of given it's going to be more expensive to run when it does need something. And overall, it's been a very reliable vehicle, very dependable. These needs, I've never really been stranded with it. The last one that was a coolant leak, I just happened to notice it while I was at my house here, which is when it started, and I had it picked up here, but I was not left stranded. So it's been a very reliable and dependable vehicle despite the service needs it's had. So if you tally up the total, if you're factoring in the oil, tires, and everything, it's cost about right at 20 cents a mile to run this for the maintenance. I'm not talking about for insurance, that's another expense. For interest on the vehicle payment, since I didn't pay cash outright to buy it, I'm keeping my money invested instead in real estate in the stock market. But 20 cents a mile for maintenance. If you factor in the other costs, it is kind of an expensive vehicle to run, that's for sure, especially with gas. I've been averaging 14.3 miles per gallon over those 35,000 miles. And so I just did the math, and $6,800 divided by 21 months of ownership comes out to about $325 a month. That's probably the easiest metric. What's it cost monthly to run it? $325 in maintenance a month. I thought that number might have dropped down real recently until I had this coolant service that we needed to take care of. So it seems like it's going to be a consistent $325 a month over the course of ownership. I'm hoping that it drops off always, but it's just not really a factor reality, especially with a higher mileage vehicle like this. Which, all the other expenses considered, I wasn't really going to cover them, but I think it will be easy to do so. So real quick, my insurance, I have a multi-car policy. It's not the only vehicle on my policy, so I get a discount. I get a couple more discounts for my good record and what have you, but off the top of my head, I want to say it's about $90 a month for this particular vehicle. And then for the loan amount on the vehicle at close to 0% interest, it's actually 1.9%, I believe. So I'm almost borrowing the money for free. My payment comes out to $289 a month. So the maintenance is actually more per month than the vehicle payment that I'm paying to repay the loan I took out for the vehicle. And what about the fuel? So it has an onboard computer in the vehicle that keeps track of miles per gallon, and I set it right after I got it, and it tells me the average over the course of my driving of the vehicle. So I've averaged over those 35,000 miles, 14.3 miles to the gallon. So if I do the math, which I just did, 35,000 miles divided by 14.3 miles to the gallon, how many gallons of gas have I needed to purchase to run this vehicle? It's been roughly 2,400 gallons. It's gonna be a little bit higher, tad bit higher. I'm not gonna look back and figure out what the average price per gallon I've paid is, but over the course of that time, if I had to guess, I'd say it's probably somewhere in the $2.80 area or thereabouts. So let's say it's $2.80 a gallon. So how much money does it cost per month in gasoline? It's funny, it's very similar to the maintenance costs. Actually, I just calculated it, and it actually comes out to roughly another $325 a month. So we've got a vehicle payment of $289 a month, insurance of $90 a month, maintenance of $325 a month, and fuel at another $325 a month. And of course, you got your annual registration and inspection, which is peanuts compared to everything else. So we've got a grand total of, we'll round up, right around $1,050 a month to run a high mileage 2010 Porsche Cayenne GTS. Wow, it's actually worse than I thought. Is it worth it? I'll let you decide. Thank you for watching the video. And if you would like to see more on this Porsche Cayenne GTS, stay tuned. I'm gonna make more videos on it, and I'm receptive to your input. If you wanna drop me a comment below, I'm receptive to seeing what particular video you would like me to make on this car, on my Nissan 370Z, on my Corvette Z06. Let me know what you wanna see in the comments below. If you appreciate the information, give me a thumbs up to support the video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Just be sure you're subscribed so that I can keep you in the loop.